into it, gentlemen. Hi, everybody. The Jets trailed 7-0 at the half and then opened the second half with 3 straight touchdown drives and held on to beat the Texans to snap their 5-game losing streak. Aaron Rodgers threw 3 TD passes for the first time since joining the Jets, including that highlight reel to Garrett Wilson, catching it one-handed, and the final one to Davante Adams. Rodgers is at the mic.
Kind of season on the line there in the second half. Obviously, we wouldn't have been mathematically eliminated, but mentally, 2-7 would have been real tough. Hopefully, it's gives us confidence so that we can beat anybody because we feel like we could. You know, the way we played on offense in the second half is the way we've been kind of waiting for this offense to wake up. And I know, obviously, I was close to perfection as I needed to be, but that's a standard I need to play at.
SA, good morning. Tides have turned here. Do you believe the Jets could make a playoff run?
No, I don't. But in fairness, last year, 2, 3, and 6 teams made the playoffs in the Los Angeles Rams and obviously the Green Bay Packers. Rams finished 10-7. The Packers finished 9-8. I don't see that happening for these New York Jets, but I will concede that I can't knock anybody who thinks otherwise, only from this standpoint of what I just mentioned. And then obviously it's a situation where the Jets only have one 500 team left on their schedule the remainder of the way, which is the Buffalo Bills. So it does make sense. Conceivably, they could do some things or whatever. I just don't see it because I still think they're struggling a little bit. When you look at the second half, however, give Aaron Rodgers props where it's due. If we're going to be critical of him, we need to be fair and applaud him when he deserves it. 10 of 11 for 147 yards and 3 touchdowns. In the second half when targeting Garrett Wilson and Davante Adams. Second half, a perfect rating of 158.3. This is the kind of stuff that we expect from Aaron Rodgers, is what we want to see. He was helped by 2 spectacular one-handed catches from Garrett Wilson. Touchdown pass for a concussed but came back Davante Adams. There's a lot to be said for that. But in the end, am I sold on the New York Jets? No, because their offense isn't nearly as prolific as I need it to be in order for me to have the confidence that I need to have in it.
Cam, you know what's funny is last week when you were on the show, I remember you told us, don't count out the Jets. They could turn things around. So we saw that win last night. Do you believe they can make a playoff run?
Absolutely. I'm looking at a schedule that says Cardinals, Colts, Seahawks, Dolphins. These are not cakewalks by no stretch of the imagination, but they are favorable wins. And that's what I look at when I'm looking at the Jets. When I see the Jets play, there's times where, oh my God, he's back. And then there's times where it's like, what are we really doing? You got Malachi Corley. You got a Breece Hall fumble that hits the pavement, but he recovers. You have untimely penalties. And these type of things, in the great words of Bill Belichick, he would always say, you can't win, RC, until you stop from losing. There's nothing special that the opposing teams have done against the New York Jets. It's that they have not won games more than they've lost them. And that was a perfect indication of yesterday.
Well, so the thing for me is, though, in order for the Jets to make it to the playoffs, we need to see a level of consistent excellence that we haven't seen from this team. And we could point to everything that we saw in the second half, especially from Davante Adams, from Garrett Wilson, along with Aaron Rodgers. But this is also a team that can't stop the run. And so I understand that you're playing the Cardinals and they're a 500 football team, but they're a team that's won 2 games in a row. They're a team that's going to run the football against the Jets, who don't stop the run, as we saw with Joe Mixon last night. Do I believe that this team can win? They can have a stretch or a streak where they put themselves in contention? Absolutely. But you're asking a team that's 3-6 to finish what will possibly or probably be 9-7. That's extremely difficult to do when you're a team that's still trying to find your way, not only as an offensive ball club, but defensively as well, where there's a level of physicality you no longer play with.
I think we're looking at a situation. I'm sorry, Stephen.
Go ahead.
We're looking at a situation where we're looking down the telescope. Let's look at the situation through a microscope. There's an old proverb that says, how do you eat an elephant, RC? Molly? One bite at a time. You can't sit up here and say that they have to finish this and they have to finish that. When I'm looking at this schedule and I'm looking at the upcoming games for the New York Jets, stop looking past if they're going to make it to the playoffs. That's not it. Let's focus on each game that's coming up. And if we can allow ourselves to do that and believe in the chemistry and the cohesion, Garrett Wilson is bossman. Jets defense being as dominant as we know them that they're capable of, those are the things that I'm looking at.
I love it when people come up with stuff about what other people are doing, acting like they don't do it. Like Cam Newton want to sit up here and tell us to look through a microscope as opposed to a telescope. But I seen Cam Newton on many, many occasions talking like somebody that's got a telescope available to him as well. I'm just going to throw that out there. That's number one. Number two, I love it. Listen, the New York Jets lost to the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
So they could lose to Arizona.
Yeah.
They could lose to the Colts. They could lose to the Rams. Now, I understand that these teams reckon. I know you're not saying that they can't, my brother. I get all of that. Relax, chill out. I'm coming to you. The point that I'm trying to make to you is this. I am not saying that they're going. I'm not saying you're saying they can't lose to them. I'm saying based on what we've seen from the New York Jets, why should we believe they wouldn't lose to them based off of one victory? If your body of work needs to mean something, now that maybe that's a telescopic view that you might be averse to because you want me to go to microscopic view. And I got that part. I'm just saying, if I'm looking at you and I'm seeing a team that has struggled, that has been anemic offensively, that the Dan Orlovskis and the Ryan Clarks and others have religiously pointed out can't even score more than 20 points a game throughout the season. And then I'm looking at Arizona and what Kyler Murray can do. And then I'm looking at the Indianapolis Colts who's going to have Joe Flacco in that lineup to come back player of the year. And then I'm looking at the Rams, even though Puka Nacua did get hurt and left practice yesterday, if I remember correctly, reading the report. We got to wonder about him right now. I'm just saying there's a lot of things to look at the New York Jets because I think it's clear. The New York Jets can't afford to lose one more game. I think that's how bad it is for them. They got about one loss they can afford to lose. They need to win everything else. I don't know if they can do it.
Yeah, that's what I said. This team needs to be 9-7. And back to Cam's telescope and microscope, I just remember Cam Newton last week that told us to read the byline. And what the byline says here is, believe the Jets will make a playoff run. And last week when he was arguing about who's the scariest team right now, he made sure that he kept pointing to that line. So I can't see that far without my telescope. And what my telescope is saying is you still got to go on the road and play the Bills. You still have to play the Miami Dolphins 2 times. You've already mentioned the Cardinals. You've already mentioned what they have to do. Now they got the Seahawks. They also still have the Rams. It's going to be difficult to expect this team that has shown so much inconsistency to be consistently excellent to win these games enough down the stretch to find themselves in the playoffs.
So it's good to know that y'all listening to me.
Clearly.
That's what I'm hearing.
That's right.
Since y'all listening, understand this. When I'm looking at teams that's in this position, if you had to put your money on it, quote me in this. There's not another quarterback that I have full confidence in getting us to the playoffs. I believe that we will win. I believe that Aaron Rodgers can be that person to do that. Quote that.
Josh Allen is one. Matthew Stafford
is
another.
Situation,
I throw him in there.
In this situation.
But you got to understand, though, this is not a situation that Aaron Rodgers thrives. And a lot of why the New York Jets are in this situation is because of Aaron Rodgers' poor play. It's because of Aaron Rodgers' poor leadership. Devontae Adams had to come along and say, nah, this energy ain't right. Devontae Adams had to be the one to give a post-game speech that Aaron Rodgers says is one of the greatest. And so I get what you're saying about the Aaron Rodgers we used to know. That Aaron Rodgers was ultimately talented.
All right, they're not getting it, so we just want to help you out. We brought the telescope in.
Man, I don't care if you bring in Christopher Columbus.
Listen, can I get the microscope too? Because this is what you should have gave this to RC and to Stephen A. Because I'm looking at right now.
It goes with your fit.
If it does, swaggy. But if anybody knows this, anybody in that locker room, a veteran should know, there's a thing that we call old Mo. Momentum. When you get wins, and then you start getting another win, and then you start saying, oh, man, we on a 3-game winning streak? Oh, my goodness. Then the ball starts going in your favor. See, that's all I'm saying. I'm not looking through the telescope here. I'm just trying to say.
Cam Newton, there's also a thing we call old folks, right? Because I remember a 2015 Cam Newton that could raise a team's play just simply based on how talented he was and the type of production that talent gets you. As Cam Newton got older, he could no longer do that. So he had to lean on his leadership.
Getting
He had to
personal.
lean on his experience. He had to lean on how he could galvanize the locker room. You
The other
had
thing-
that charisma. This dude in New York does not have that. So if he's
He
not
does-
playing at a high level, if he's not sort of the athlete, or if he's not the thrower of the football that we used to know,
Right.
it don't matter. They ain't winning 8 of these 9 games.
I feel you.
Hold on.
And by the way, Cam, I must
Actually, it's not
confess.
8, it's only 7,
I mean,
so.
silly little me. I was just reporting on these things, but I've been around for about 30 years reporting on these sports. I ain't never heard old Mo describe momentum. Never. That's you. That's you right there, Cam. That's your old Mo. I ain't never heard that, bro.
I said
Ain't
it
never
was a
heard
locker
that.
room term, Stephen A. Smith.
I feel you. Well, damn it, I've been in a lot of locker rooms. I ain't
Come
heard
on.
old Mo. I think you made up that for Aaron
No,
Rodgers
no,
trying
no.
to support your point. It ain't gonna work
Yes,
this
sir.
morning. It ain't gonna work this morning.
It is. RC.
All right.
Aaron Rodgers is a different breed, bro. You know that.
3-9
I agree
right
with
now.
that.
They have 8 left. Let's see where this team ends up.
Last night in their win. And they were talking about it post-game. Take a listen.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I was talking to the ref when they were reviewing it. I'm like, just for the sake of posterity, you have to say that's in, just so it goes down in history. It would rival the Odell catch. You know, it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, that's a good one there. You know? That's a good one, and it's got to count. I remember saying to all them, I'm like, y'all gassing me up too early. Like, this got to count, y'all. Let's chill. Once it counted, I was like, yeah, all right. Now y'all can tell me whatever. Odell's it was different, and he got 2 feet down. The ball was finna land out of bounds, and it was Odell, man. It was Odell against the Cowboys. Like that was the one. So for it to even come up in that convo, you know, I'm blessed. I'm honored. But yeah, man, Odell got that's that boy.
All right. So, Cam, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a Giants fan.
You are?
So that reminds me a bit of the Odell's famous one-handed catch against the Cowboys 2014. So who had the better catch? Would you go Wilson or Beckham?
I'm going with Garrett Wilson. No, well, then I think about it. I'm going with Odell.
Okay.
Because when you really zoom in on a catch, it was really 3 fingers.
Yeah.
And the body contortion, is that a word?
Yeah.
I got to
Yeah.
ask Stephen A.
No.
Yes,
You
it
can
is.
ask
Yes,
me.
it is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
For him to go back and also fighting a pass interference, those things
Yeah.
that he was fighting against, these are all the things that I'm looking at. I'm like, Garrett Wilson, that's a nasty work.
Yes,
catch.
it is.
With the just the possibilities, you know, being in this situation, the only thing that you care about, make it count. I hope it counts. I hope it counts. It counts. But when you look at Odell, he's really catching it with fingertips. And it never touches another
Yeah, that's a good
hand.
point. RC?
Oh, I think it's Odell's catch. Like, what I do hate about this is like the GOAT conversation, right? It's almost like you got to say something negative about one in order to say that the other was better. But both of these catches are phenomenal. And what both of these catches mean, Garrett Wilson may have saved the New York Jets season with that catch. It's 3rd and 9. It's the only place that Aaron Rodgers could throw the football, and he gives his dude a chance, and he goes up, makes the one-hand grab, and gets his shin down. But come on, y'all. Odell Beckham's catch, he's getting pass interfered. He's basically tackled before the football gets there. Eli's throwing that out of bounds. The depth and the height of the throw, the ability to track it, and like Cam says, catch it with one hand, it never touches another, get your full body into the end zone. It started
Unbelievable.
these sorts of catches, and that's why when you make any great one-hand catch, it's automatically compared to the best one we've seen.
For sure.
It's a lot of core strength.
I don't
Stephen A,
disagree
you know
with
about that now.
I don't disagree with what either one of you are saying. I appreciate the breakdown. I definitely think that Odell Beckham Jr.'s was better, and we're not taking anything away from Garrett Wilson. It was an absolutely phenomenal catch. But I think this is the best way to encapsulate this discussion. I'm going to give more props to the innovator than a potential imitator, even though both were great. And imitating greatness, there's something to be said for that because everybody can't do it. But Odell Beckham Jr.'s catch, that I don't recall seeing a catch like that in my life. That was something spectacular. And that's where it all starts when we think about cats catching balls with one hand. I've seen Randy Moss catch a bomb, by the way, on Darrell Revis.
Yes, it
but
was.
with one
Sweet,
hand,
too.
okay? But it was one hand. It was sweet as hell. But that Odell Beckham Jr. catch is a once-in-a-lifetime moment that we saw. And I don't see anything that has eclipsed
It's unreal. I'll still take David Tyree's helmet catch. Quick take, let's go. Yesterday, the NFL.